Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the August session of Dr. Jaspersoft. I'm your host, Paul, and today we have two guest speakers. We have Gopal and Kumar. Thank you both for joining us today. We do appreciate it. We'll have a quick disclaimer slide. And then the next Dr. Jaspersoft session is the second Thursday of every month. So the next one will be September 11th, 2025, and that one will be about Keycloak SSO integration with JasperReports Server. So here we have today's agenda. The first part will be introducing of the Webpack and JasperReports Server. The second part will be Webpack configuration, then environment variables and scripts, entry points and multi-page applications, integrating external JavaScript libraries, Webpack module.rules managing assets and dependencies, Webpack Dev Server, build optimization techniques, jittering a Visual.JS script as a single file, and then at the end we'll have a QA. Of course, feel free to ask questions whenever you want. At the end, we'll save a little bit of time for questions if you have any left over or anything like that, and we can address those questions then. Our first guest speaker today is Gopal. I'll go ahead and hand off to you. Thank you, Gopal.
Thank you, Paul. Hello, everyone. My name is Gopal Purushottam Rathi, and I work in Jaspersoft UI team as a senior UI developer. Okay, so I will start with introduction of Webpack in JRS. So we all know that Webpack is a static module bundler for the modern JavaScript application. It supports all the JavaScript frameworks and as well as some other assets to bundle them into the build folder. Okay, so what it supports? So it supports a simple bundling process. It combines all the JavaScript files and their dependencies into a smaller number of bundles. So we call them as basically smaller files as a chunks, right? And it also allow us to work on other assets like CSS, images, fonts, and we can manage them through loaders and other plugins. Okay, so it allows easy integration of any other JavaScript frameworks in the in the project. It also supports the environment variables. Okay, so the third features it provides is Dev Server. So we, as a developer, we mostly use Dev Server for our coding needs because it allow us to do hot reloading. So what is this hot reloading? So it allows us to like whatever changes we do into code, it allows us to do like see those changes instantly in the browser. It like automatically build those changes and it automatically deploys and through cache like through browser cache it load those changes and we can see the changes. So we will see the demo of this in the later part of our session. Okay, so the fourth is the features. So there are many features which provided by Webpack. So first one is code splitting. So as I described that whenever we do bundling, right, bundling process, and when we do Webpack serve, so it like collects all the dependency files. It generates some like dependency graph, and then it like process bundles and like transform those files into chunks. So those chunks can be a smaller amount of like smaller part of the code which will be like we fetch those chunks as per the requirement of that page. Okay. The second feature is the tree shaking. So in the tree shaking, we remove the unused code or let's say like we have unused imports as well, right? In the codes or some the functions which we not use. So those will be removed at the time of this build process, right? So this is called tree shaking. And then we have minification. So we optimize our code through this minification and it like drastically reduce the size of files, right? So this all be done through Webpack. Then we so here what versions we use. So for Webpack, we use three different NPM models. So named Webpack CLI, and then Webpack Dev Server. So Webpack, we use like 5.20.2 and greater versions. For Webpack CLI, we use 5.1.4 and the greater, and then Webpack Dev Server. So we use 4.15.1. So all these three NPM models we require for our project to do this bundling process. Then let's proceed with the setup. So for setup, you will need the our source file, source UI for our Jaspersoft. So you can have that from the GitLab or you can have that from the repo. Then you need to have, sorry, I need to start. So you need to have yarn or node packages for it. Okay, so you need to once you install the yarn and node, then just when and you have this JRS UI source, then you can go to a path. So for all the UI of codes, right, that is placed into one folder, that is JavaScript UI. So you can find easily in our code base. So you can go there, and then we have two separate folders for community edition and the pro edition. So you need to install you need to run this command yarn install for community edition and then the pro edition. So so according to our package JSON, all the dependencies will be installed, and we also have this dependency like Webpack, Webpack CLI, and Webpack Dev Server. So that will also be installed. Okay. So I will show the basic configuration. So here, if you're starting a new project, right? So what basic configuration look like here? So you can see like we have module export, and then we have using some object with some configuration properties. So almost all the application will have entry point, right? So entry point, nothing but the starting point of our application. And this starting point will say will inform to Webpack that from where we need to have this dependency graph to be built. So all the imports and all the other dependent code and dependency packages will be taken from there. Then we will have output. So whenever the bundling process happens, so we need to have some output bundle. So we will mention the path here. Then we will have mode. So we are defining our mode as a development here right now. Then for dev server, as I mentioned, we will have some configuration for it as well, like for example, port and root path. So all those. So this is a basic configuration. When I will gonna explain the more, so we'll see the exact configuration we use in JRS. Okay, so there are some configuration will require for like other resources, for example, CSS images. So here I have mentioned the configuration which generally used for CSS. So in module and rules, we specify two properties, name test and use. So in the test, we specifies which file need to be tested. So here we are testing .css file, and then we are using style loader and CSS loader. Okay, so here you can see the exact flow, like how Webpack works. So it will have the entry point, right? And then it will also utilize loaders for the other resources, and then it utilize the plugins as well for other features, like it allows us to minimize the code. Then it allows us to code split, and as well as we have some plugins which requires for, like for example, loading the files and environment variables. Okay, so let's proceed to the next part. So here in Webpack configuration, so we have total 9 FAP modules in our application, and all FAP modules will have the separate Webpack config file. So each config file defines the relatively what configuration is required for that FAP module to bundle all the code files. Okay, so the first config file is from JS SDK. So JS SDK defines the main important config file, and this config file it will be utilized to other FAP module as well, and with additional configuration. So as you see here, So in our application, we actually write a function which will return the configuration object. So as we see in basic configuration, generally it will just have the configuration of the properties. But because we have the large configuration, right, and we need to use some dynamic configuration as well from other files, so we just export our configuration through the function. So, uh, so here, as you see, some basic configuration. So we are using the name. So this is a main main application which uses the name as a common, right? I will like later part of this session, I will show the other applications which we also use with the Webpack. Okay, so here we are using mode. So for mode, we will have the dynamic value. So for example, we can use development mode or production mode. Then we are specifying dev tool, then some resolve properties. So in that we will have like which extension we are using. So for example, in Jaspersoft application, we use TypeScript file as well as JS file. And we also use React, right? So for that we will have JSX file. So here we are mentioning which files need to be processed. So all these, and then we use aliases, right? So this will also be explained in the later part. Then we specify rules for the different loaders, right? So here you can see like we are using import loader, right, for jQuery. Then we are using Babel loader. And for test configuration, for test cases, we are using this Istanbul instrumental loader. Then for some images file, we use file loader, and this list goes on. Then we
Hey,
use some
hey,
plugins as well.
Gopal. Real quick question. We
Yeah.
had a kind of a follow-up question. They asked, since you're using GitLab, is this available for Community Edition and the Commercial Edition?
Uh, I think GitLab, like for example, if it is community edition, I think that source is available on community website, right? So I don't think GitLab access will be available for the common users. Mm,
This file
Yeah,
can be
yeah,
found inside the source code file.
yeah,
Okay, sounds great. Thank you for answering the question. We appreciate it.
yeah. So here we see the listing of the plugins, right? So yeah, so this is a very starting point of our application, which is we have written in the JS SDK Webpack config file. Then we have like different models, right? So all these configuration files utilizes that JS SDK configuration, right, as well as the additional configuration. So you will see, so we are using as it is configuration from JS SDK, and then we are extending it with the different configuration as well. Okay. So I will just try to show them quickly. Like for example, this BI repository, we just use the same configuration from the JS SDK. Then JRS UI uses some additional configuration. Okay, and the new thing you will see, sorry, so the new thing you will see into the JRS UI Pro. So, so I need to mention one thing here is that we use 3 different applications for our Jaspersoft to work properly. So we use Visualize, we use export functionality, then we have our base uh, functionality. So all these are specified with a different Webpack module, right? And whatever the setting and whatever the configuration is required for those applications are mentioned into this specific configuration file. So for example, for Visualize, so we will have some different settings. So we are mentioning that through this visualize file. Okay. Okay. So we'll proceed with the next slide. So we use environment variables in our application to dynamically have some configurations, right? So for example, let's say we need to set themes, right, dynamically. So we can do that through environment variable. Uh, for example, if we want to use some ports, right, dynamic ports, for example, in our develop environment, we use 9000 as a port. Then in other environment, like secure environment, we use 8343, like this. So we can mention those port dynamically through the environment variables. Okay, so we specify all those environment variable into .env file. Okay, so I will show that quickly, like how it looks. So here you can see in my code base, here all the environment variable and their default values are mentioned. Okay, and if we want to overwrite any properties or any value, so we need to do it with this environment.local. So for example, here I'm overwriting the test path, like so which test should be executed. So that I'm doing with the overwriting. Generally, the default value will execute all the tests, but with the overwriting those values, I will have specific instruction to that command. Okay, so this is a general use. As I have mentioned here, to overriding it, we need to do with .env file. You can write or you can set the value of environment variable through the terminal as well whenever you execute any script. Okay, I will show the script in the later part of this. Then some uses of environment variable. So whenever we use environment variable, right? So we are loading those environment values through this .env and .env CLI npm packages. So these two packages are used. Okay, they will be loaded automatically when we run any scripts. Okay, so I have given the example of scripts here. So for example, here is the script to start the Webpack, right? So to start an application, we write this script. So .env-c, then we have Webpack ser, and we are specifying the mode, and then the environment variable. So environment variable syntax is written with this dollar and curly braces, and we have some default values here as well. Okay. The another command is the copy command. So here you can see we are specifying the build directory path through the environment variable, and also the build folder path in the Tomcat, like where we're deploying our application. Okay, so I'm gonna quickly show the package JSON. Okay, so once again. So let me show the package JSON which will have the most commands. Okay, so the JRS UI Pro. So as you can see here, so we have many scripts commands here. So whenever we start our application, we run this command. If we want to build our code and then deploy it to like Tomcat, then we use yarn build and yarn deploy command. So here we have yarn build and then we have yarn deploy. So this will deploy our code to the production environment, we can say, for our local environment. So it's deploy into Tomcat basically. Okay, and also Webpack allows us to debug code through source map. So whenever we build our code, right, so it will generate two files. One will be the Webpack files, and actually that Webpack file is generally not readable format. So for example, let me show that. to you. So whenever we load any page, right? So you see here. Okay, so you see here there are many chunk files got loaded, right? And if you see the preview, right? So these are generated by Webpack, and these are mostly not like in readable format. Okay, so these are where like code are minimized, or it is generated through Webpack. Okay, and then if we want to debug code, then we have source map, right? So those codes are loaded from source map. So that is a readable format code, and we can debug our code there. Okay, so you can see again here all the chunks and all the resources like images and our CSS files got loaded here. Okay, and then the source files. Okay, so this is how it works, the source map part. And script part, you can see. So like we have very different commands to perform the different action. Like for example, if we want to clean the build, so we use the yarn clean build. So yarn clean, so we that will clean our build folder, and then we just run the yarn build and yarn deploy. Okay. Okay, let's proceed with the next slide. Yeah. So we again use this environment variable in our Webpack configuration as well. Okay, and there is a difference how we use, right? So in like here, as I shown earlier, right? So the format of using the environment is variable through this syntax. So we directly use it into the script, but through Webpack configuration. So let me show one Webpack file, right? So in Webpack, wherever we use environment variable, right here, so we use it through this process.env. So we access the same values through which is mentioned here into .env file, but we access these like this syntax. So process.env Webpack Dev Server public path. Okay. So yeah, one second. Yeah, so we use it in Webpack for different purpose. Okay, so like for example, configuring path, server settings, theme options, then optimization flags. So all this is mentioned. Okay, so the next part of the session will be presented by Kumar Manas. So I will hand it over to him.
Thank you, Gopal. I will start with the integrating external JavaScript library. So as we know, most of the things are being catered by the package.jsm. We do the dependency injection, all the things. But why do we need to have some JavaScript library integration in the Webpack? So there are few reasons. Few of them I have highlighted, like result dependency. So there could be scenario like your library is using some different third-party library, which is having some different version. So there could be some conflict. To avoid those conflicts, we use this configuration in the Webpack. Second would be the fixed compatibility. So again, it is the same, more or less same. Simplify imports. So sometimes what happens, we need to specify a particular file as an entry point or anything. I mean, the import could be large. So to minimize the import path, we also use this configuration. Override defaults. The next point is override defaults. So here, again, if you don't want to use the main entry point, instead of that, we want to use some different path, then we need to do all the things. I will show you in our code how we are managing it. But before that, these all things are managed by the alias and the module rule. So let me cover the module rule next, and then I will show you together this integration and the rules. For rule, we have defined like how our different type of files would be loaded or will be compiled and created in the build folder. So here there are few points like I have highlighted import loaders and export loader. So export loader is something which we want to have it in global scope. So then we do. For the test utility, we have used some regression methods. Remaining thing covered by the Gopal, like how we are reading out JavaScript, JSX, TSX, and TS files with the Babel loader. Same for the CSS, we are using style loader and CSS loader. These loaders are being used for the test cases and load the HTML file. For images, we have URL loader and file loader. So let me go to the code. It would be more clear and more easy to understand. We also have the comment, like I talked about integrating the external library in the Webpack. So in the comment itself, we have highlighted 3 points. I mean, where we have libraries like Backbone, and Backbone is having dependency of jQuery, but we want to use the same jQuery everywhere. So we can do the alias. We also talked about how we can minimize the import path. So here you see, here we have this path to import, but if you write like this would be imported like in one sentence, like jQuery UI touch punch. Similarly, this thing. So there was one more point. There was one more point, like having default entry point. So for underscore, you see underscore in Backbone we are using, but that is not the ES6 based. So for that, we have to identify the path which path should be used for our Backbone or something. So here we have mentioned these items in the comment itself, and it is visible. Next thing about the rules. So as we discussed, the export and import. So export is something which will provide these items in the global scope. Import is something which is being injected in these in these libraries. Like similar way, in jQuery UI time picker add-on library, we need to have our own jQuery version. So we are injecting it using the import loader. If you come down, we'll see here we have the file type, and for which we are using the Babel loader. Similarly, we have configuration for the test coverage, and this test coverage specifically configured here because there we need to have some different way to do the testing and do the snapshot testing, all the things. For HTML, you are using raw loader, and for the PNG, we are using URL loader. There also we have defined some limitation. If we have not given this configuration in our env, then it will pick 8 KB by default. Here I also have the fallback plan. If this PNG is not being resolved by the URL loader, then it will go to the file loader. So similar thing of configuration we have mentioned here. So these are the 2 items. Next, let me see. So now I will talk about the Webpack Dev Server. It is quite interesting for the developers to do some customization and test it at the runtime. I would highlight few key points, like it supports live reloading, serves bundle from the memory, so it is fast. It is quite easy to configure through the Webpack configuration. And most important thing, it is also support proxying or API. So how it does, we'll see. We have few variables, by default variables in the env file, so that can be changed and updated if needed. So the last point I mentioned, that proxying API. So here we have the host attribute. If we modified this host attribute with some different instance, then all API requests will be retrieved from this host. By default, it is local 8080, but you can put anything. I will show you how it works. The port number can also be configured. Dev server is localhost. Server theme is true. If you want to make it false, then it will retrieve the data from our local instance itself. Theme name is also configurable. We have few theme name in JasperReports Server. One of them is default. There are three more, easy access and something. So you can name it any theme here. If you want to write to the disk, then also we can make it possible by having this flag as true, but it will take time to do the live reloading and all. And the script folder from where it will retrieve remaining script. So public path is mentioned here. Let me continue with this. So how we start our dev server. So default is the yarn run start. It starts our Webpack Dev Server in development mode. But if it reads only the JavaScript, HTML, JSX, and TSX files. So if we have any changes in CSS or a CSS file, then we have to do the yarn run start themes. And in background, it run the yarn start with the style watch. So style watch, what does it reads the CSS and ACSS changes as well. Now we'll see the demo how it works. So before that, I will show you my application is running on 8080. So this is running from the Tomcat. Now default configuration we have for the dev server is port is 9000 and host is defined like it should read all the data and API call from my Tomcat configuration Tomcat. So I have started the server using the, let me close this one and start it again. So I'm using the yarn start and themes so that I can demonstrate the changes in the TSX, JavaScript, and CSS as well. So if I open 9000 port, it is not accessible. It will take some time to do the initial build and all the things. So until it gets started, I will highlight one more thing which was already covered by the Gopal. If we want to override these items, these attributes, then we have to create the .env local. And whatever I am demonstrating here, that is based on the Pro folder and inside the JRS UI Pro. So this is for the professional. For the community, we have this similar approach. We have to follow the similar approach. But here we have to choose the JRS UI path. So in source code, this folder structure is maintained. If you have the source code, you will find the JRS UI and you have to execute the same script. And I will also explain one thing until it gets started. So here we have the JRS instance path. So this path is something where our Tomcat is available. So when we do the yarn run build, after build inside the JRS UI or JRS UI Pro, we will have build folder. And if you want to deploy it directly in our Tomcat by running the yarn run deploy command, so that time we have to mention this JRS instance path of our Tomcat and it would be auto deployed. Here, if you want to upload the data from the different instance instead of localhost 8080, then you have to overwrite using the host. As of now, I have commented out, so it will use the default one, 8080. It seems like previous instance was not closed properly, so let me restart it again. So it also prints the message from where and what are the things are being picked. Like this, if you see the path, themes path is being picked by inside build overlay themes. A script for all the JavaScript related code. We are picking it from the script folder. And project will be running on this path. And the proxy is created from the localhost 8080. So this information is being printed when we are creating, running our dev application. It would be available soon. Uh, I believe last time the previous instance was not closed properly. So if I open the dev server and do the login, it is still loading. Let's wait for a minute. Yeah, now it is available. So if you see the path, I have some debugger. Let me. I was doing some testing on my local machine, so that's why. Yeah, changes I will show. So now server is up. Let me modify some code like I was here we have on home page create button. So let me update and see how early it gets loaded. How fast? Yeah. So here we have that label name. Let me update with some string like add and save it. So once we save, you see it started building the application and it has been deployed. If I go to the page, you see it has been changed and without refreshing, it gets auto refreshed and we can see the changes. Similar way, if we modify the CSS file, like let me modify one of the CSS. So there is a color red here. So I was doing some testing before that. So if I remove this red color from here, it should build the theme script. And if you come here, this page refreshed and the red color has been moved. So it is very convenient to do the live reloading and do the code customization and test it using the Webpack Dev Server. Let me go through the other items. So next we have the build optimization technique. So what we are doing here, there are few bullet points like we are doing minification, and for that we are using a Cursor plugin. We are also doing code splitting to improve our performance on the browser. We also have defined cache group. So what it does in cache group, if we configure something, the chunk will be created for these items separately, and it is helpful when we are doing the code rebuild. So it will remain same. Conditional minimization. So this is something where if we don't want to minimize our code, then we may configure this thing, and this attribute is available inside .env file. Chunk naming, we are doing chunk naming to manage and do the cacheability and debugging in fast mode. So if you are, if something has been deployed and we are doing the rebuild, then cache naming help us to maintain the cacheability and debugging. Next slide, we'll see what are the things we have. Here I have the code snapshot for that one. So inside the Webpack config file, we have optimization attribute. So once, in minimization, there is some check. If it is true, then only it should go with the minimize. If minimize is true, it will do the minimization. And for as a minimizer, we are using the Cursor plugin. A split chunk. So split chunk, once we'll define the split chunk with the empty object or anything, split chunk will happen. But inside split chunk, we are managing our chunk, how it should be built. So especially for prototype.js and runtime dependency. Runtime dependency is a separate folder where we are maintaining all the libraries which are required for the runtime. So I will show you in the source code where it is available. So for these items, the separate chunk will be available. So let me show you the code for this. So here we have the split chunk. We are maintaining the cache group for prototype and runtime. Runtime dependency here we have inside our source code. So for this, we have different libraries and different chunk will be maintained for this one. So this is how we are maintaining the optimization in our code. So main items are minimizer and a split chunk. Next thing I will cover this is something where we have this specific requirement. So I will go through some build configuration, how we are doing this, especially for the professional edition. So as Gopal earlier mentioned that we have three type of build files in professional edition. One is base, one is export, and third one is visualize. So for visualize, it happens that sometimes we need to have a single Visualize.JS file. So if customer or user anyone wants to use Visualize as a script in their code, then these chunk files is not helpful there. So how to create the single Visualize.js? I will show you in the demo. So first of all, I will show you by default how it would be created. So if you go to the JRS UI Pro folder inside the build, we have the script. And here we are maintaining base and visualize. So base will create everything, export will create this file, which is being used for the eye chart, especially I would say. And in visualize, we have chunk files, multiple chunks file. Those will be loaded when we will call the visualize in our application. But if you want to have a single file, so first of all, I will stop this dev server and I will go back I will go one level up inside the pro. So whatever script I am running in the pro for the community edition, the same thing should be run in the C folder. So here I will do the yarn okay, before that, let me show you in env file how we are maintaining the script, build a script. So here we have Webpack include configs. So we have common, visualize, and export. Common is something for the base. Visualize is for visualize and export. So if you want to build only visualize, we can configure it in our .env file like this. Webpack include config visualize. So only visualize will be built. So demoing it for quick, I would update it as a visualize. So we'll see the changes in the visualize. And before that, I will let me delete it manually. So we'll see how. Let me check the script. Again, this one. And I'll also show you what we have to configure. So here we have the max chunk one using this plugin. So we need to configure this thing if you want to have a single Java Visualize.js file, single script file. So we need to do this configuration inside the Webpack config visualize, which is available inside the JRS UI Pro. But as this is the part of the professional edition, this configuration only be available inside the JRS UI Pro. So let me go to the config file. As of now, I have commented out. So I will uncomment it. You guys have to add it. And then we need to do yarn run build. So I have, as I have overridden with the visualize, it will build only the visualize part. So you see inside the script only we have the visualize, it is loading. And here we don't have the chunk. We have the one JavaScript Visualize.js file along with the map. So this file, minified file, can be loaded using the a script and anything else. So this is how we can generate, and we can also override the default configuration of the build process. Let me comment it out, but this time it will take more time to do the build. So yarn run clean, we can run this command to clean the delete our build, and yarn run build again to build everything. Again, it will take more time. The process will remain same. Yes, that's all, I believe. Thank you.
Thank you, Kumar. We appreciate it. I think Gopal had one more slide he wanted to share.
Yeah. So I need to mention one more thing. Okay, I'll share my screen. So I was mentioning about the entry points, right, in the application. So I wanted to mention how we use it into JRS. Okay. So let's see first here that, for example, we want to have a login page built, right? So login page has some code. So there will be some entry point for login page, right? So we will mention it like path and the entry point. So login and login main will be entry point, and the path for that main file will be mentioned here. Okay, so that will be mentioned into the entry configuration. Okay, but specifically in JRS, how we utilize those, right? So the folder and the file will be generated, but to utilize those in the JRS, we have some changes to be done into JSP. So in JSP, we have some templates, right? So inside that template, we need to mention variable name saying module name, and then inside module name, we need to mention the value. So here we are mentioning the generated, like the path, the key value of that entry point. So report viewer / report viewer main. So let me quickly show that into code as well, right? So inside our Webpack config file, you can see all the entry points are mentioned here, right? It will test if it is test environment or if it is other environment than test, then it will specify what are the entry points. Okay. So as you can see, for ad hoc application, we are mentioning the ad hoc main file, right? And from this is a main important file from where that feature starts, right? And then inside GSP file, so this is like GSP file where we are using a template. This is a page .jsp, which is a basically template JSP, and then we are putting whatever generated through that bundling process, right? So that is mentioned through this value. Okay. So this is how our application works for the entry and output in our Webpack. Okay, so that's all for mine.
Thank you, Gopal. We
So
appreciate it. I'll go ahead and share my screen. As always, we thank you very much for joining us today. We do appreciate it. Please engage with us, log a support case, engage with us in the community forums, or email me. We'd be happy to answer any questions you have or any concerns. Other than that, take care, have a good one, and we'll talk to you soon. Thank you for joining us today. We appreciate it.